The morning of July 12, 2016, was the start of my journey into the wilds of the Rocky Mountains, and what a journey it would prove to be. I had been planning this hike for weeks, and I was excited to explore the rugged terrain and stunning scenery of the area. As I made my way deeper into the wilderness, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the beauty of my surroundings. The forest was alive with the sounds of birds chirping and the gentle rustle of leaves in the breeze. I had chosen a remote location that was known for its abundance of wildlife and beautiful vistas, and I was not disappointed. But as I reached a clearing in the forest, my sense of awe turned to fear. I heard a rustling in the bushes behind me and turned to see a large black bear emerging from the foliage. My first instinct was to freeze, but I knew that this could be a fatal mistake. The bear had caught my scent and was making its way towards me, its eyes locked onto mine. The beast was now only a few steps away, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, knowing that this was a fight for my very survival. I reached for my bear spray, but my hands trembled uncontrollably and I couldn't seem to pry the canister open. In a moment of pure desperation, I remembered the survival tips I had read about dealing with a bear encounter. I knew that I had to make myself appear as large as possible and make as much noise as I could to scare the bear away. With a surge of adrenaline, I began wildly waving my arms and shouting at the top of my lungs. To my immense relief, the bear stopped in its tracks, its gaze locked onto mine. I held my breath, waiting for the inevitable attack. But, to my amazement, the bear simply turned and ran away, leaving me standing there in a state of shock and gratitude. As I made my way back down the mountain, I couldn't shake the feeling of fear and adrenaline that had coursed through my body during the encounter. But I also realized that this was a wild animal simply acting on instinct, and that it was not the bear's fault. From that day on, I knew that I had to be more cautious and aware of my surroundings when hiking in bear country. The memory of that terrifying encounter will stay with me forever, but it has also taught me to appreciate the beauty and danger of the wilderness. A true test of man against nature and a reminder of the raw power of the wild. It was a beautiful autumn day when my friends and I decided to take a hike in the woods. We had heard about a trail that was known for its picturesque views and we wanted to experience it for ourselves. Little did we know that this hike would turn into a terrifying experience that we would never forget. The trail we chose was located in the mountains of northern Colorado, in a forest known as the Roosevelt National Forest. We set out on our hike at around 10 a.m. on October 15, 2020. The sky was clear and the temperature was perfect for a hike, with a cool breeze blowing through the trees. We were excited to see the fall colors and the wildlife that the forest had to offer. As we trekked through the wilderness, the peaceful tranquility was abruptly interrupted by the ominous rustling of bushes in the distance. Our hearts skipped a beat as we cautiously approached, unsure of what creature lay ahead. But as we rounded the bend, our worst fears were confirmed. There, looming before us, stood a massive black bear, its fur standing on end as it towered on its hind legs, its beady eyes locked onto us, its nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. We were rooted to the spot, petrified by the sight of the wild beast as it began to slowly advance towards us, its massive paws pounding the ground with each step. We knew we had to take action quickly, so we started to back away slowly, trying to make as little noise as possible. The bear continued to walk towards us. We thought that we could just back away, and the bear would leave us alone. We were wrong. The bear suddenly started to run towards us, and we knew we were in danger. We started to run as fast as we could, but the bear was quickly closing in on us. We were terrified, and we knew we had to do something to protect ourselves. One of my friends, John, had a can of bear spray with him, so he quickly grabbed it and sprayed it at the bear. The bear let out a loud roar and stopped in its tracks, momentarily stunned by the spray. We took this opportunity to run as fast as we could. We didn't stop running until we were sure we were out of the bear's reach. We were all panting and out of breath, but we were alive. We knew we had to report the incident to the park rangers, so we quickly made our way back to the trailhead. We were relieved to see that there was a ranger station nearby, and we ran towards it. We told the ranger what had happened, and he immediately called for backup. They searched the area but could not find the bear, and it was believed to have retreated back into the woods. We were shaken by the encounter, but we were grateful to have made it out alive. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here I am. It all began on July 15, 2022, when my friends and I decided to take a camping trip to the Canadian wilderness. We were all avid outdoorsmen, and we wanted to experience the rugged beauty of the Canadian wilderness firsthand. Little did we know, our trip would take a terrifying turn. We set out on our journey early in the morning, driving north into the heart of the Canadian wilderness. Our destination was a remote campsite in the Rocky Mountains, near the border of British Columbia and Alberta. The drive was long and winding, but the scenery was breathtaking. We passed through dense forests and rolling hills, with the Rocky Mountains looming in the distance. As we drove deeper into the wilderness, the road became more and more treacherous. We had to cross several rivers and navigate steep inclines and tight switchbacks. But we were determined to reach our destination, and we pressed on. Finally, after several hours of driving, we arrived at the campsite. It was a small clearing in the middle of a dense forest, with a few picnic tables and a fire pit. We set up our tents and started a fire, and then we set out to explore the surrounding area. It was late in the evening when we first heard the growl. We were sitting around the fire, talking and laughing, when we heard a low, rumbling noise coming from the woods. We all froze, listening intently. The growl grew louder and more menacing, and we could tell it was getting closer. We quickly realized that we were being stalked by a bear. We had heard stories of bears attacking campers in the Canadian wilderness, and we knew we had to take action. We grabbed our bear sprays and our bear bells, and we slowly backed away from the fire. The bear was getting closer, and we could see its outline in the darkness. It was a massive creature with shaggy fur and glowing eyes. It was growling and snarling, and it seemed to be getting angrier by the second. We knew we had to act fast. We decided to make a run for it, and we sprinted towards the safety of our tents. But the bear was too fast. It charged after us, and we could hear its paws pounding on the ground behind us. We were terrified, but somehow managed to make it to our tents. We quickly locked ourselves inside and waited for the bear to leave. But it didn't leave. It prowled around our campsite, growling and snarling, and we knew we were in for a long night. We spent the entire night huddled in our tents, listening to the bear outside. It was a terrifying experience, and we didn't get a wink of sleep. We were trapped, with no way to escape the bear's wrath. As the night wore on, the bear's growls became more and more frantic. It was as if the bear was getting more and more agitated, and we knew we were in serious danger. We decided to make a break for it in the morning. We waited until the bear was far enough away, and then we quickly packed up our things and left the campsite. We didn't look back, and we didn't stop until we were safely back in our car. That night was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. I never thought I'd be stalked by a bear in the middle of the Canadian wilderness, but I learned that in the wild, anything can happen. It was the summer of 2017, and my friends and I decided to take a camping trip to the Canadian wilderness. We had heard about the beautiful and remote area around Jasper National Park and couldn't wait to explore it for ourselves. We were all experienced hikers and campers, and we had all the necessary equipment and knowledge to make the trip a success. Little did we know, our trip would turn into a nightmare. We set out on July 10th, and our first few days were uneventful. We hiked through lush forests, crossed crystal clear streams, and enjoyed the stunning views of the mountains. We were in awe of the natural beauty around us, and our spirits were high. On the third day, we decided to venture deeper into the wilderness, where we knew there were fewer people and more wildlife. We were hiking on a narrow trail that wound through a dense thicket of trees when we heard a rustling in the bushes. We all froze, unsure of what was causing the noise. Suddenly, a massive black bear appeared on the trail ahead of us. It was enormous, standing at least 8 feet tall on its hind legs. Its fur was matted and unkempt, and its eyes were filled with a wild, menacing look. We all screamed and tried to run in different directions, but the bear was too fast. It charged at us, and we all scattered. I remember thinking that this was it, I was going to die. But somehow, I managed to climb a tree and hide in the branches. I watched in horror as the bear chased after my friends, who were running for their lives. I could hear their screams and the bear's growls as it chased them. I don't know how long I was in that tree, but it felt like an eternity. I was sure that the bear had killed my friends, and I was next. But eventually, the bear lost interest in me and wandered off. I climbed down from the tree and called out to my friends, but there was no answer. I was alone in the wilderness, with a wounded heart and a trembling body. I spent the next few hours searching for my friends, but they were nowhere to be found. I was devastated, and I knew that I had to get help. I hiked back to the nearest ranger station and reported what had happened. The rangers searched for my friends and eventually found them. They had managed to reach safety unscathed apart from cuts and bruises from the vegetation and falling while running. The bear did not harm them, That trip to the Canadian wilderness was an adventure, but it became a reminder of the importance of respecting and understanding the animals we share the earth with. Though I will always remember the fear and horror that I felt that day, I am grateful that my friends were able to make it back safely.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to stay tuned for more true stories.